state's involved with it. We asked for Thanksgiving to Christmas to suspend the meters, bring people in, shop, eat, drink, don't let them pay, and the state said no. I think you're going to be hard pressed to get them to say free parking for, you know, those blocks in a redevelopment zone where redevelopment's going on in an appropriate time of year. I mean, I think the explanation to the state that it's really good to your customers, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how that's going to go over to them when they give us $3.2 million to function.
I respect that, and I think that obviously is a hurdle that has to be overcome. I do think that, you know, Porta and the business that Porta does in the off season is a really important part of getting people to that section of the city during this time. You know, a lot of our customers are in you know, they're parking there. They're visiting other businesses. They're visiting a section of the city that otherwise is quite desolate. And I think that if our customers are discouraged from going there, there's no parking revenue being generated anyway. And I think just from an eyes on the street kind of point of view and a general vibrancy for that section of the city, I think that section of the waterfront needs all the help it can get during these months when it is quite cold and windy down there to encourage people to be there.
Can I ask one other question? Other than subsidizing the parking, is there anything else the city could do that would help?
What we did do, I understand your problem, and just Friday, Jim grabbed me. We went down there. I had Robert Bianchini meet me down there. I had the police department meet me down there. The first thing we did, we put one of those big electronic scoreboards, which I wish you could put in the picture, but, you know, Porta's open on the south end, north end.
North end, yeah.
North end. So people just don't get to the roadblock and, well, Porta's closed. So we do have that. Now, we may have to pull that down the road if we have an emergency someplace we need that elsewhere. But until we do, that's going to be dedicated there to let people know you are open. I know you put out some signage, and we talked to Burke and the representative from iStar, I forget his name, to see if they could get more signage up as far as, like, as much as the county did a terrible job with Sunset Avenue Bridge, the one thing they did do good is they put up tons of signs saying how to get to Sunset Landing all through Wanamassa. That's about the only thing they've done right so far, and there is good signage. So we might be able to help with better signage. Like Amy said, the problem is going to be with the state. We were hoping to have the numbers crunched tonight, what that would cost us. So we may have that by tomorrow night. The parking authority hasn't given that to us yet. And then we'd still have to run it by the state. But right now, as much as you say, you know, it'd be free parking for your patrons. If your patrons take it all, then where do the patrons of Cubicon park? I mean, it can't be dedicated just for, you know, your patrons with valet parking.
No. I wouldn't suggest that at all. I think that would be unfair. I just think, I mean, I spent a lot of time this weekend, starting Thursday night, which is the roads were closed as of Thursday, this past Thursday, right? So obviously, I was incredibly concerned about this situation. If I could have shown you the numbers for that Thursday night, it was a terrifying situation, and I'm very happy that you kind of spent some time with me on Friday, and we talked about signage and some solutions. Because I was really concerned that this was going to be a major problem for us in sustaining through May. I think the sign that you provided is a tremendous help, and the kind of wayfinding signs that we've created ourselves in a sort of Porta branded way have also helped. I did spend a lot of time out on the street myself personally talking to people as they were parking. Talking to them about how did you find the experience? Was it clear to you as to where you needed to go? And almost every person I talked to said, "We don't have to pay, do we? It's, you know, at this time of the year." And I said, "No, you do. You do have to pay." They were shocked. They were like, "Why on earth would we be paying in the middle of the winter to park in this section of Asbury Park when, you know, it's Anyway, I'll leave
Right,
it.
and I think that's probably a separate issue, right? And we have a parking consultant that's looking at it. Does it make sense to have parking paid for down at the beach in the winter, right?
It's a related issue, yes.
Related,
Yeah,
but.
yes.
So with this last comment, I'm not completely clear on the concern. The concern is that people don't want to pay for parking when they go to Porter, or they can't find Porter because of and I'm not sure how the parking and the finding Porter are related.
Because we don't have any more street frontage for Porta, right? None.
Right.
So
Does that impact your parking?
does that impact our parking?
Yeah. Was there a significant amount of parking in that area?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, okay.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And then not only our frontage, but also to the east of us, there's a tremendous amount of parking to the east of us that you can't get from that parking area to the east over Kingsley. It's been made clear to us by the city, by Burke, and by iStar that under no circumstances can any of our customers cross that construction zone.
No, but they can park on Second Avenue, which I was down there Saturday, Joe was down there
walked there as
Saturday.
well.
We saw you, and we were down there. And at first, when I was down there Friday, I wasn't sure Second Avenue had a U-turn down at the end, so I thought there would be a bottleneck there, but there is a U-turn, so Second Avenue is open for parking. Now, what they have to do, if I park on Second Avenue and want to go to Porta, I've got to walk a block this way, half a block this way, and a block this way, instead of just cutting across the street.
You're talking about the easterly section of Second Avenue?
Correct.
To the east side of Kingsley, yes.
Right.
Because to the west side, all of the apartments and residences take up all that parking there, right?
Right, but they would take that up if
Doesn't
there
get
was
separation.
construction going on or no construction.
Well, no, because there's a significant number of spaces that have been eliminated by this construction being brought
The top-
past
right.
our building.
Right, which we had to tie in your sewer.
Yeah, I mean, it all had to
Right,
be
so
done, I
we
understand.
took off the probably top 50 to 60 feet of the 200 block of Second Avenue.
No, it's past our building, and our building is 100 feet deep.
Okay, so we took off 120 feet. And we probably took, and we did, so your trucks could make deliveries.
Well, the fire trucks and
We
everything.
yellowed out more parking spots where we know we're going to lose revenue also, so you can get deliveries. And like you say, the fire trucks could, and ambulances could make the turn and everything. So, and again, like you say, the good thing is there's development going on. The bad thing is there's development going on. So it's like, which is good and which is bad. We're all caught in the middle on this one, and it is like, the supposed dead time of the year, but I know it's not the dead time of the year for your business.
Well, it is the most challenging time of the year for our business, and to have a challenge like this put before us, is cause for concern. And and to Joe, to specifically answer your question, what is the issue? If people find their way to First Avenue, there is a significant amount of parking on First Avenue, right? What I was hoping that we could offer to our customers via advertising and social media was an incentive for them to kind of find those spaces. During this time of construction, the city, the mayor and council have decided not to charge for parking in those two blocks to make your experience a better one, quite frankly. And I think it's less about the $2 that somebody has to pay, but it's getting out of your car when it's 20 degrees and the wind is whipping, finding it's that whole experience.
And again, that I think is a bit of a separate issue, and the parking consultant is looking at that. Does it make sense to pay for parking in the winter? Right now, that's our policy, so
It's
does it make
an
sense
issue
to
that's
change it?
exacerbated by this road closure, that's all.
To a certain degree.
I think to a large degree. If you spent some time with me talking to people, it's
It's not hard to get people to talk about parking in the wintertime down the waterfront.
Well,
They're gonna
just to,
be upset.
precisely.
Yeah.
Precisely.
Before the construction, right?
Yeah, before the construction, but now, and a lot of it is a matter of perception too.
Sure.
Because with the wayfinding signs we put out, customers are finding their way to that plot.
Great.
But if you look at the photos that I gave you, when you approach Porta from any direction, your reaction is like, wow, what's going on here? So I'm trying to overcome that perception and let people know, no, there is a convenient way for you to come and park and experience the restaurant. I'm just hoping that given this very short window, that we could say the parking is free.
When I was there, this Burke construction trailer wasn't there. Was that just there temporary and they dropped something off and it's gone, or is it still there? I don't think that's going to be there for the entire 2 months.
I couldn't tell you. It was there today.
It was there today?
Those pictures were taken today.
Okay. I'll check into that with somebody tomorrow.
So just so I'm clear on the ask is to provide and I went by it this way as well, provide these 2 strips of free parking.
The 100 and 200 block of First Avenue.
Okay.
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure. So for example, I'm standing in the middle of First Avenue,
First and
here,
Kingsley, right.
looking north at the building. Right? So the block to the left of me and the block to the right are those 2 blocks is what we are asking for to become free parking only during this construction. So real quick, the upper left is a shot looking north on Kingsley. You can see the construction fencing, the work trailer that obviously stops traffic. Upper right is looking basically from the parking lot on the intersection of 2nd and Kingsley. So Kingsley, 2nd, looking southwest.
Yeah, this
And again, you can see that whole road is shut there.
Friday or Saturday. That's what they do that.
Bottom left is taken a little further back to the top right, but basically it's from the sidewalk across the street on Kingsley, looking towards the northwest. And the bottom right is taken from 2nd Avenue. Porta is immediately to the right, and you can see that the construction of the intersection, they've closed that intersection and pulled the street closure back west past the edge of Porta. So I think it demonstrates from these photographs the impact, and certainly the perceived impact, but also the
Oh, excuse me, are you finished with us?
No, well, Fred asked him to show the drawings.
I
suggested that he show the photos to the
Fred
public.
asked him to show the drawings.
Okay.
Okay, no, okay, thank you, Jim. Anybody, questions? No?
Thank you.
Good, thank you, we'll take it under advisement, and we're waiting for the numbers from the city manager, and hopefully we'll have those tomorrow.
Okay, well, great. I really do appreciate the time that you've taken to hear my concerns.
And
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and I just want everybody to know, and iStar sent out letters, Burke sent out letters. And I know it happened like Thursday, it was like, wow, caught you guys off guard just because of the business and everything, but it was sent out to everybody that this was going to happen. It wasn't like, hey, it happened and there was no notice given to anybody.
Yeah, and again, I want to be clear, I'm not complaining about this
No,
at
you-
all. I know that this is, I'm an
But
architect.
you're asking taxpayers to subsidize parking, I mean, for all intents and purposes, for how many months? So that's why I'm only saying to you, if that doesn't fly, is there anything else that we could be doing where there isn't an argument to the state as to why we're doing this?
Practically speaking, I think the only area that you guys could help me beyond the parking scenario would be with signage, would be with additional
Okay.
signage. I mean, I've thought long and hard about this.
We could put it up on Main Street, we can put it up on the website.
Yeah, I think,
We can put it where?
Well, we can put it up on Main Street until it gets fixed.
yeah, I think signage would help a lot. It is already helping a lot. And again, what I'd like to do is overcome people's perceptions that it's difficult and say, no, we've thought about this. We're being responsible about getting you to the right point so you can have a convenient, a convenient way to get to Porta.
One way or another, and you know the website better than I do. Can we
Yeah,
get it
we'll
up,
get it up on the
can we
website
get it up on the
within a
website
day.
tomorrow? Directions to Porta?
Can you send me something? And-
Sure, yeah.
And I will try to, either I'll upload it, or preferably if Tom is around, he could do it.
Absolutely.
I don't
Yeah.
want to guarantee tomorrow if I'm the one who's doing it and I gotta work.
No,
But I
I
will get
mean-
it up within give me 48 hours and I'll get something up.
We could even give you a little map that sort of
Done. Send me whatever you want me to put
diagrammatically
up.
shows how
That's
we
great.
suggest
Okay.
people come.
Okay.
Because I think if people know how to come and that it's convenient, that helps a lot. So that's great.
And maybe email Tom, see if he can put it in his email blast
Okay.
for a couple weeks, just
Yeah.
have it as a tagline.
Don, you'll pass that on?
Yeah, making a note of that, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I don't, there's that electronic sign on Main Street as well. I don't know if
It's
that's...
out.
One day it'll start working again.
But when it's on, we'll get it up there. Can you know my email, it's amy.quinn@cityofasbury.org?
Kyle will give it to me.
Okay.
Yeah, great.
And I'll get it up where we
Yeah.
can get it up. We'll get it on Twitter and we'll get it on the city Facebook page.
That'd be great. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate the time.
Thank you, Jim. The next item on the agenda is really just a placeholder, possible appointments to boards, commissions, and committees. I'm not sure if you have any this evening.
Skip it.
If not, then we'll move on to...
Sorry, I always do that.
Okay.
Okay, Fred, what do I need to do to get a resolution or ordinance to create the code committee?
Code enforcement?
Yes, and quality of life.
Quality of life.
Okay. And is that a joint committee or two separate committees?
Joint.
Nothing, we just gotta say, go ahead and do it, don't we?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and do it.
If you want to establish that, then...
Yes, that's what,
Really, you can do that by way of a resolution
No.
and then appoint people, or, I mean, you don't even really need a written
we don't need
resolution
a
if you want
resolution.
to
You just gotta tell people who wants to apply. If
make
you-
it known that you're looking for
Council liaison.
applicants and start getting the word out.
Yeah,
Okay, well, we asked at the last meeting if people wanted to apply, and we're asking again. We do have a couple of members, but anyone else is interested in being on the code or quality of life committee, please submit an application. I think, are they now online? Do you know, Amy?
I do not believe that.
Okay, if they're not online, you can get them from the city clerk's office in City Hall. Thank you.
and maybe the coaster will put that in a blurb.
About a code committee, Don.
The next item is a review of any of the agenda items that are on tomorrow evening's regular session agenda, if anyone has any questions or comments or concerns.
I have one question. Just the, and I talked to the Deputy Chief Salerno, or I got a message to Deputy Chief Salerno today, the Project Safe Neighborhoods application. I was just wondering if that had any strings attached at the end, like the top cops grants.
No.
It doesn't?
It costs the city nothing.
And when it's over, there's nothing at the end?
And the paperwork is here, we got late tonight, and
Okay.
Lieutenant Thompson was going to make a report, and we said, we're still on tomorrow night's agenda, so no.
Okay.
It's like all the other grants that cost the city nothing, and it won't be administered by Asbury, it'll be administered by somebody else, where the money goes to Neptune Asbury.
Okay. That was my question. Cool. Thank you.
Correct, Captain? Yes. Thank you. No.
Any other questions, comments about tomorrow night's agenda? Okay, that brings us to public participation.
May I have a motion to open the public comment portion of the meeting with a 3-minute time limit for each speaker?
Move it.
How come the public portion before the matters to be introduced by city council for this?
How come
When
what?
it's usually the opposite, it's usually matters to be introduced by city council and then the public portion?
Oh, you got something?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, it is. Oh, absolutely,
You could
okay.
certainly switch that. I know in the past...
I'm gonna be quick.
Oh, yeah,
So can we
I'm
switch
sorry,
it
okay,
before we
yeah,
do
let's
public?
switch
I got a
it.
couple things as
And
well.
it's important.
Yeah, it is, because they'll give feedback from the audience. Yeah, so let's just switch it in the future.
So we'll hold the public portion temporarily and start with the matters to be addressed by city council.
Correct. I'm sorry, yeah. Joe, you want to
Is
go?
that me? Okay, a couple things. Just quick announcement, the Recreation Committee is meeting on Thursday at 4 p.m. It's an advisory committee, so there's no requirement to have open public meeting, but we would, Jesse and I welcome the public to participate. It'll be up in the city manager's conference room. I have some stuff about the storm and parking downtown, but I feel like maybe save it for tomorrow. Will Joe be here tomorrow?
If you tell him to be, he will be.
Okay. And then the other questions, which may be saved for tomorrow, were just some code question updates. Did the dumpster get the final consent order on January 30th? I saw somewhere that we were going for that. Maybe I'll save these for tomorrow.
Yeah, because Tony might know more than.
Yeah. All right. So that was all.
Yeah,
Thanks.
but good you give him to Don so he can give Tony a heads up
Okay.
before tomorrow night's meeting.
Do you have these written down?
I do.
Would you like me to take them? I'll bring them to Tony tomorrow.
I'll do something with you right after, because they're a little bit sloppy.
Okay.
You can't take them.
But the dumpster is at the Drake Hotel, 311-6, whatever it is.
Right.
He'll know, just say dumpster, he'll know what you're talking about.
Yep.
And what was the other, and parking downtown?
Yeah, there was just some
Snow removal and cooling.
Some of the private companies were dumping snow in the public streets.
This has happened before.
Blocking parking.
Okay.
Which somebody sent me a video today. And then Wimbledon Row east of Grand be open.
Wimbledon Row, east of Grand Building. Good question.
Seems like it's done, and it's again, a parking issue there. With the snow, there was brutal parking. As well as this weekend when everything opened up, which is fantastic. But parking concerns. That was it, thank you. Thanks.
Just quick, you're going to have Joe Kuna here tomorrow night, so we can talk about some storm issues? Is that a yes?
We will.
Let Mr. Cunha know that you'd like him to be at tomorrow evening's meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Jesse?
I got a couple of things.
Yeah, but go ahead.
So I only have one thing, and this is more for Fred. And we have a resident on 4th Ave who contacted all of us about spearheading, Danny Weiss, spearheading a committee regarding the Sunset Ave Bridge, which I think is a fantastic idea. I think we all basically think it's a fantastic idea. Does that need to be a formal resolution, or is it similar to the code where, you know, he can, you know, obviously there'll be some council members on it, but he can just start to mobilize people and get them on it, or do I need something formal for it?
No, it can be similar to the code.
Okay.
With council's blessing, you can establish this committee and have Mr. Weiss, you know, serve as the chair or spearhead it.
Okay.
And invite, similarly to what Councilwoman Clayton indicated, invite members of the public to submit their applications to serve on that committee.
Okay.
Just briefly, this is for the council and also for Tony, but he's not here. But I noticed on my travels on Heck Street and Asbury Avenue, there was an open lot that's up for sale. And being that we need parking in Asbury Park, I looked and I sort of measured in my head how many cars this would be, and it could be 100 cars, I would say, if we was to buy the lot, if we're able to do that, and pave it. Something we could think about and talk about later, maybe. In my campaign, I went to a lot of churches, and I talked to a lot of clergymen. And one of the things they told me was, if you're able to get all the clergymen together and all the churches together, well, basically the head of the church together, have a luncheon, they will be welcome to come in and share their ideas and their thoughts with the council. So it's something that I'm working on, and when I get more details on it, I will let the council and everybody else in charge knows. Thank you.
I love that idea. Not that it's me again, but can I just ask a quick question? If we wanted to, just piggybacking on what Jesse said, if we wanted to start to occasionally, like quarterly, rotate the council meetings outside of this chamber and put it in the quadrants of the city that exist, what's the process for doing that? And if you have to do some research on that, that's fine. I'm putting you on the spot.
No, you can certainly switch the locations. You would just need to publicly notify that.
Okay.
I don't know, it depends on the locations that you're considering, whether they would have the ability for the audio system to run.
Okay.
So that is something we'd have to check into and consider whether you want to go to a facility that can run the system or not. It's not legally required that you have to have a verbatim transcript of a council meeting. You just have to have minutes under the Open Public Meetings Act. But why don't you give some consideration to the different places, and then we can check into whether those venues are capable of running our system.
Okay.
And then we can make a determination as to dates and advertise and go from there.
Great.
The only thing I have is, Jerry, you were late. So before you get up to the microphone, I would ask Don to go back through his notes, and he made a presentation of what Tony was going to report back from the last council meeting, but time clocks have been ordered. Okay, so that's all I have. Thank you.
I do it for you, not for me.
I just want to let you know that they've been ordered.
Okay, if there's no further comments from the council, Don, do you have anything from the city manager?
No, I just did this report out for him earlier.
And I have nothing. So at this point, we could go into the public participation section. Melanie?
May I have a motion to open the public comment portion of the meeting with a 3-minute time limit for each speaker?
Move it.
Second.
Councilmember Clayton?
Yes.
Councilmember Kendall?
Yes.
Councilmember Warner?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Quinn?
Yes.
Mayor Moore?
Yes.
The public is expected to conduct themselves in a proper manner. Any derogatory, abusive, or threatening statements will not be permitted. The chair will immediately rule such conduct out of order and, after appropriate warning, may terminate any further comments from that speaker.
Well, we have light, now we need camera.
Rita Morano, 8th Avenue. I know your intentions are good, but rotating the meetings is not a good idea.
Okay.
We did that with the commission, and you get less and less people, because nobody knows where you're going to be, and then some people don't read the advertisements. It's a bad idea. You have to move all this equipment, too. But anyway, that's, I got interested in what John Samet said about the escrow accounts. Could you explain that again? What's that about?
This would be to establish, every time someone comes in asking for an ordinance change, not a variance application before the planning boards, an ordinance change of the mayor and council, that person who's interested cover all the city's expenses related to well, what we have to do to make that ordinance happen, if the council so chooses to do it, and also to review it.
Yeah, but, who keeps track of the escrow account?
The escrow, there are multiple escrow accounts which are reviewed by different people.
Each person gets a different account?
Oh, yes. Every individual developer has a separate escrow account which bills related to only their specific project are billed to. Certain escrows are handled exclusively by the finance department, other are managed by the planning and zoning board secretary.
Well, you must have an awful lot of these accounts.
There are many, many escrows. You think of all the...
And who else gets paid from them besides the attorneys?
The ordinance specifies it's the attorneys, the stenographer, the planners, the engineer.
Everybody that appears at the board.
That's correct. That's correct. And
They get paid from the escrow account, and who keeps track of that?
As I said, either the board secretary, if it's a development application, or other escrows, say related to redevelopment agreements and negotiations of those are actually tracked by the finance department.
Well, how do you get a record of who's paying what?
Through the finance department.
So if you go to the finance office, they'll tell you how much the attorney got, how much the planner got, how much the engineer got, how much the secretary got? Is there something like that?
I believe you could ask the finance department for a record of all the bills paid out of a particular escrow account.
That almost sounds impossible, but I guess it's okay.
Yeah, where by law you're required to keep a track of all the funds in an escrow account and invoices paid out of that account. Of course, each invoice would have the bill from the professional.
And right now, the city is covering those costs. So this takes it off the city's shoulders and puts it on the backs of the developers or redevelopers who are requesting action
That's
by the
right,
mayor and
but,
council.
Ms. Morano's talking in much broader sense, the overall how escrow accounts are handled in the city, existing.
I never saw an escrow account in the budget. In all the years I've been looking at budgets.
I don't know that escrow accounts would be part of the city's municipal budget.
Rita, you go through the bills and claims pretty well. And if you go towards the back, probably not on this one, I didn't see a whole lot, but then you'll see some Ts. And that's coming out of a trust account, and that's the escrow account. Where, say it's John Moore is getting paid $10,000, it says T-1111. It's coming out of somebody's escrow account, be it iStars, be it Michael's, be it Carter Sackman's. The big developers right now have escrow accounts. They put in X amount of thousands of dollars. Once it starts going down, James at finance says, hey guys, you got to replenish it. They replenish it. What we're doing now is adding, Rita Morano owns 1000 First Avenue, or Main Street. You want to put in a go-go bar, but it's not zoned for a go-go bar. So you come before mayor and council and you ask us to change the zoning. And we say yes, but meanwhile, the taxpayers are paying him and everybody to do all the work to make that go through. So now you asking for this where you're going to make money, or else you wouldn't be asking to put that go-go bar there. You're going to be making money. You're going to pick up the fees instead of the taxpayers. So trust me, this is good for the taxpayers.
I know. It's been in the bill resolution, but it's not marked escrow. It's marked.
No, it says T, and that means it's coming out of a trust account, and it's basically, the majority of the time, it's the same thing. And James can explain it better, and James will explain it better, but when you see a T before the numbers for the purchase order, it's coming out of a trust account.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Good evening, Pam Lamberton, 6th Avenue. Regarding the art wall, one of the committees that you have not reappointed yet is the Public Art Committee, and I wonder if you would consider reappointing that committee or appointing that committee new and asking for their input on that art wall, since it is public art. Regarding the band shell, I'm racking my brain trying to remember, but way back when that became part of the waterfront redevelopment plan, I thought it was just going to be a public space. They were going to rebuild the band shell so that it could be used for the Thursday night Luck and Bill performances and other public performances, and I didn't realize that they were allowed to put a tenant in that space and actually make it revenue generating for Madison Marquette. I don't know, I would defer to Werner's memory on that, but I would look into that again. I mean, they're planning something quite elaborate, a rooftop structure that will be a moneymaker for them. How are we going to get our public space out of that and our Thursday night band concerts? As far as staging for the beach replenishment, my reaction was kind of like Deputy Mayor Quinn's reaction. You've got to be kidding. They should pay us millions of dollars to compensate us for that. There is that Casson property that's just north of Asbury Park.
I thought the same thing.
That now belongs to the village of Lock Harbor, I guess, owns it now, since he's moved across the street. So I don't know what the big push is for Asbury Park to sacrifice our fishermen's. Since we're some of the people that use that lot a lot, it would be a real hardship for the city to lose that. I also wonder about, wasn't there damage done to Wesley Lake during the beach replenishment? And are they fixing that before they even start on the next part of the replenishment? Thank you.
Thank you.
Was there damage done to Wesley Lake?
The damage to Wesley Lake, I think, was the outflow pipe.
Correct.
Right.
I don't think it was done by the Army Corps of Engineers. Their proposal said, and to me it sounded like kind of, when we met with them last Thursday, somebody drafted up a draft proposal, and it said, well, if you give us the lot, we'll look into the outfall pipe. I'm like, well, that's extortion. I mean, I said, you got to be out of your minds. I said, so that language was taken out, and they said they would look at that outfall pipe anyway. Now, the last... Excuse me?
They're saying they didn't damage it.
They're saying they have no knowledge of it. And the last report I saw was something a month or so ago from Joe Kuna, where the estimated cost to repair it was $28,000, $14,000 to be spent by Neptune, $14,000 to be spent by Asbury. So as much as they said, well, look into it, I was like, you're talking about a lousy $28,000 when you want to take, like you say, $1 million worth of, like, you know, beachfront property. Believe me, I took Joe Pilato there because if anybody knows that a lot better than Joe Pilato, I'd like to meet him. And we walked into that meeting like, again, dead on arrival, because we were told it was 2 years. We were told this, we were told everything by just reading the newspapers. They did not realize, past mayor and councils did not tell them about the problems the last time they were there, where they did not clean up after they left. They did not put the parking bunkers back the way they should have been parked back. That would be the sidebar agreement where they don't have to do that now, it's a different contractor. But they would, in a sidebar agreement, do anything and everything we want. The lady made a good presentation. They, by law, cannot negotiate. When we said, well, how about giving us $100,000? They cannot do that. But like she made the good point, the contractor can. And if it's going to save him $500,000 to relocate, maybe he will give us enough money to make it worth our while. So I thought that was a good segue to at least talk to them, which I had never even thought about. So again, we won't do anything. And Fred, you said ordinance?
We had adopted an ordinance in the past for...
So ordinance, we'd have to have public hearings and everything, and so no decision is being made tonight, tomorrow night, and even the next council meeting, obviously. And DEP's been a little bit slow getting this information. More on the second issue that we really didn't get into depth to, because when I met Don Brockle and Joe Pilato and DEP there, Joe was going to be there, but he was sick. We were told this would not happen this summer. This would happen next winter when it would be cold and the smell wouldn't be obnoxious. Now, all of a sudden, it's changed from that to this, and we're like, wait a second. And as much as Amy says, we want something in writing, I'm scared that we're going to get something in writing, and then we're going to say, guess what? You know, we're DEP, we're more powerful than you, and this isn't going to hold up in court anyway. So we're not going to do anything just for the sake of doing it, and we will value your opinion and your input. Thank you.
Hello, Council, Mayor Jerry Scannell Longway. Mayor, thank you about the time clock. Sorry I was late, but what can I say?
We'll bring it down here.
You got to put your time clock.
Yeah, we need a time clock. Now, since you're going to start spoiling the taxpayers, when can we have GPS on all the vehicles and decals? I've been asking for that, and I've been asking for house numbers on all buildings. I mean, address numbers on all buildings in Asbury. I think that would benefit us also. What I wanted to say to Yvonne, I like the idea that you're going to do the code enforcement committee. I like to read it to go, but unfortunately she's too old to hitchhike. So if someone could give her a ride, she'd be a good candidate. And part of the committee rules should be that they should know what the book with all the information, I just kind of lost the word for it.
Code?
The code book, but also city ordinances, because most of the stuff is complement each other. And I know when Rita had it in the store, we used to look it up all the time and give them the code that they were breaking, and it still didn't work. So there has to be a better system to make it for everybody to understand it. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up, I can bring up tomorrow night, but more and more I see houses are putting solar panels on the roof. We need new rules for that, or guidelines, so someone doesn't knock off a dormer of an old Victorian house so they can put up solar panels or things like that. We need new rules about solar panels, because that's a whole new future that's going on. And in light of the fire that happened in Ocean Grove, we have to do a system that complements what's going on here, so people don't feel like they're being told what to do. But like that fire, maybe had there been different rules, maybe all those buildings wouldn't have burned, and that could happen here too on some of the row houses. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Good evening, Conrad Nebula, 1218 Sunset. My two questions are around the Sunset Bridge. I live at the mouth of the bridge, and one thing I noticed is that at Pine and Sunset, there was a physical sign in the middle of the, in the street, and it's no longer there. So what I'm experiencing is cars are coming to the bridge, and they're like, ah, and then turning around. So it was there one time, it's no longer there. So that's my first thing. The second thing is...
What was it down there?
There was like a...
Detour sign, or what kind of sign?
Yes, in other words, to make a left to Pine Street. Yeah, detour,
Okay.
yes.
Don and Kath, can you check that tomorrow? Thank you.
The other one is when I was at the presentation, I can't remember what the day was, about Sunset Bridge, they showed a rendering that where the triangle is, right before you go over the bridge, like that wide space, that they have a design of a green space. And the green space that they have designed will take away 4 parking spaces in that area, in front of my house, and in front of my neighbor's house. My question is, that's Asbury Park City property, I believe. Were you guys in conversation with them around this green space? Because they didn't speak to the residents, so I saw when me and my neighbors saw it, we were like really shocked, because there really literally is 4 spaces taken away doing this green space. And I mentioned it to them, and I asked that they consider, and was at the other
Ocean Township?
Yeah, thank you. Ocean Township, and they said, yeah, okay, yeah, we'll look at it. But I had an impression that the city of Asbury was not aware of it, and I may be wrong. So, were you guys aware of it?
Are you done?
Yeah, I'm finished, yes.
Part of the problem, when we met with the New Jersey Transit, I'm going to say the gentleman started off the conversation kind of like cantankerous John Moore. Well, how long have you been on council? I don't know, July, since 2013? Well, we've been deciding this a long time before you, so we don't care about your input. And it was like, oh, okay. When I was at the meeting here, it was on a Thursday afternoon here, 3 to 5, then you went to 7 to 9, also Ocean Township. It was the world's worst meeting I ever attended. And their answer was, oh, if you have any questions, here's a piece of paper, write down.
Exactly.
This is the day before the closing, and
Right.
and I was there. You made some good
Yeah.
points. I thought I made some good points. Never knew anything about this green space. All that was done with past administrations, past council, but we will look into it tomorrow. And again, hopefully it is something that we can change. Right now, I'm not impressed with it. I drove the streets the Sunday after it started on a Friday. They blocked it down, and I thought they needed flashing lights on the Jersey barricades. I thought Bridge Street was totally dangerous, and I still don't know how they're going to plow up by your house.
Oh, I don't
Because
know.
if we have a snowstorm, there is no turnaround. And they say, well, they'll use their big buck. No, they said, we can use our one broken down front end loader there. Well, no, if it's a broken down front end loader, we can't use it there. So to me, it was a very poor meeting. And I did not go to any other meetings, but there was people like Joe Pilato, there were people like you. They said they inspected every house within 300 feet. Joe Pilato lives 230 feet away, his house was never inspected.
Right.
So they promised the world, but they did not follow through on anything, and it's been a comedy of errors. It's not funny what's going on, and as much as even the coffer dam made no sense. They're like, well, okay, it'll flood, but then we'll go over the top. But the more it goes over the top, the more you got to pump it out. So your 454 days is going to be now 654 days. And they're absolutely right. The gentleman from Beauchamps from Ocean Township made the point, well, if the water can't get through that coffer dam, the west end, Locust Drive and everything, they're going to flood quicker. And but the guy was very smug and sarcastic. Oh, no, it won't do it. Hey, guy, you don't live on Sunset Lake. You don't know it. And even like their work hours, 7 to 7, it was a terrible meeting. And we are on top of it. I think Danny Weiss coming forward, and I'm sure somebody like you will probably volunteer.
Oh, I'll be on that committee.
And it's going to be an important committee because we're going to lose 4th Avenue. Now, 4th Avenue should have been paved before this, but we didn't do it. Again, that's a different topic, but there's no way that street can hold up to 22 buses a day when we're picking up one person on Sunset Avenue. And for the bus company, New Jersey Transit, just say, tough, we don't like it, we're not changing it, just was like irresponsible. And when I did meet with Jennifer Beck, I told her that. And when I did talk to Tom Arnone, the freeholder, and when we did talk to Terry O'Connor, that we were going to pass this resolution, we're working together with the county. We didn't want them to think, hey, we're backdooring you. Guess what? We're doing this on the advice of New Jersey Transit. So it's coming from us, but they told us to do it to put the onus on you.
Got it.
So we are working together on it, but it is a nightmare. I live on 4th Avenue. I see it. Joe lives on 3rd. Jesse lives on 4th.
Well, what you guys will experience on 4th Avenue is what we've been experiencing on Sunset Avenue forever. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and I got that now 4th Avenue is receiving it, but Sunset has been horrible in reference to, I mean, I am addressing the city right now, sorry. But Sunset Avenue has been horrible. So it's like, as we are, working on 4th Avenue, because it is a temporary route, the same approach needs to happen for Sunset for the future.
You're absolutely right. I saw somebody lives on Asbury Avenue who's been putting it up for years. Just said, like, not sarcastic, but a funny thing on next door saying, haha, I live on Asbury. Now you know what I've been talking about. And so it is a problem all over town. Yeah. The only difference, and it doesn't make it right or wrong, Sunset was rated for, like, say, 20,000 pounds.
Right.
4th Avenue is rated for 8,000 pounds, and that's the difference, like how much they paved years ago and how much this and that. And, Sunset was the truck route and the bus route in and out. Doesn't make it right.
No, I understand.
Now the rest of us know exactly what you've been going through. So we are looking into it, and we will do our best.
Good. Thank you.
You want to say something?
I do, but my question's more for Fred, so it's related to Sunset, but I'll wait for Fred to get back.
Okay.
Fred's right here.
All right. Hey, Fred, so I guess, right, it's clear 4th Ave is a disaster. So I don't understand why we can't do two things. One, do a directive that you move the traffic to Asbury Ave, and if they're not going to follow it, we'll move it. What's the consequences of us moving the traffic to Asbury Ave? We put up our own signs and we move it.
I will ask, we were already going to have Joe Cunha come here tomorrow evening, so perhaps during tomorrow night's limited work session, we could get more into this issue and have him here, because he's had specific involvement with county and state officials about this
But he's not going to be able to tell me the consequence to doing something that they're telling us we can't do.
No, I think the best would be the police department would tell you the laws. I think, and
So I say we just move it. Just move it to Asbury Ave. And then we'll take the consequences as they come.
The problem with that is our engineer and our professionals were involved with the detouring. So what they said is like, hey guys, you've been involved with this for 4 years, you had no problems with it. Let's see if it works. If it doesn't work, we'll go from there.
But it isn't working, right?
I agree, but you're going to have to get it.
I say we move it. Can we take a vote and move it?
Well, let me review this further with Mr. Cunha as well as our police department, and perhaps we can revisit this tomorrow evening.
You could start ticketing every New Jersey Transit bus, but I don't think that would be a good headline.
Why can't we just put up detour signs and detour them to Asbury Ave?
Because the city agreed to the detour plan. So we got to get them to change the detour plan. The city agreed to the detour plan.
So we have to strongly encourage them to think about changing it with us, because it's not working.
That's right. That's right. And Captain, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're absolutely right. Our traffic division, along with the process earlier, that's the conclusion that they came up with. But I'm certain that we can sit down and revisit whether or not moving it is feasible.
Thank you.
Jim Henry, 514 6th Avenue. Pam touched on most of the points I was going to make tonight, but with respect to the Corps of Engineers, they've already let the contract, at least what they have said in the paper, that they've already let a contract to the contractor. So therefore, the staging area was built into the contractor's price. So if he's already come up with a figure as to what that value is.
He's
wherever
come up
it
with a
is.
fig to what the value is to use that land for that period of time? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I understand what you're saying correctly.
They said that he entered into a contract and for the work.
For the work, but I don't know if he could, and that's the question that we're going to ask, right? Can you tell us how much it's worth to you to use this piece of land?
Well, get him-
and then you need to give us something for
Get
that.
him to submit a copy of his bid to the Corps of Engineers, because he had to have something in there for mobilization and for storage. He had to have a figure where he is going to rent storage space. And if I recall correctly, in Lock Harbor, 1 block north of the north side of Deal Lake, there's a street that, I think it's Elberon Avenue, that runs out to the beach, and that area belongs to the city of the city of Lock Harbor, and therefore they have plenty of access, and they could put the pipes on their streets.
I totally agree with you.
You're right, it is Elbron Avenue, and they do have the gate open right to their beach club right there, and it's as big as the Fisherman's Lot. And now, I don't think they could use Jack Cassin's property because it's privately owned as much. We recommended they use Tackanassi, and that's privately owned also, but we also did recommend they use Phillips Avenue, which is owned by Deal and Phillips, and Deal said, no, we don't want that in our town. Okay.
And the thing you said at the end is, they did their project based on, like you said, using that lot moving north, because they would have had different specs in the project if they used the club and then moved south and then north, because they can move south and then move north. They just didn't build it into the specs, and it's more expensive now. So I don't think that's our problem, personally.
I don't think any of it's
No, they just thought it was like the good old days where Asbury was just going to roll over. They didn't know this was going to be a hiccup, so you're right. So profits built in there because they thought they were getting a free lot.
Right. Also on the band shell, I think Pam is absolutely correct. The idea behind the band shell was that was going to be available to the city for use. And we spent a lot of time in a campaign about 10 years ago trying to save that band shell. And that was all part of the overall scheme of things. And I think it was specifically mentioned,
Don't pay attention to that because we cut you off.
Specifically, there was a supplemental agreement concerning that particular pavilion. And there were timeframes listed. I think it was the dispute resolution agreement that specifically mentioned that band shell.
The only thing I'll say, and don't quote me on this, is that I don't remember ever reading anything that says the Fifth Ave band shell has to be preserved for public use. I don't remember reading anything like that. Do what you will with that information. I've read the documents a ton of times, and I could be wrong, but I don't remember anything saying that.
But as
That's what it was.
As
I know, but that's not in the documents,
said,
I guess, where is it?
As Fred said, we're going into closing exec tomorrow night with our attorneys to review their presentation. That'll be a question asked to the attorneys. And Don, if you can.
I don't recall anything about it being open to a public space.
If you would just, because Mr. Scotland left, if you could refer that to him in the morning.
Carl's still here.
Oh, I'm sorry, Carl. Carl, you got the question. We're not looking for the answer now.
Carl, I don't recall off the top of my head that there was a condition regarding how it's to be used, whether it's public, private, or a combination thereof, but I'll make sure if you would get you the answer tomorrow night.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
And one quick question for Don. Concerning the escrow ordinance or that we're proposing. Yes, the new one. Was it for all redevelopment areas?
Yes, this would be applicable to all redevelopment areas whenever someone's requesting an amendment to a redevelopment plan.
Okay. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hello, Mayor, Council, staff. Warner Baumgartner, Fifth Avenue. The last time the Fisherman's Lot was used for the beach replenishment, I remember all of the construction equipment that was down there, heavy equipment and things like that. And before they moved in on that lot, there was a huge pile of debris. some old telephone poles, broken concrete, things of that nature. To this day, that pile of debris still sits there. Now, I find it quite interesting that nobody thought that while all that heavy equipment is down there, that they would have that debris cleaned up as part of the concession for using the lot. So that segues into the current situation. Now we still have a big pile of debris down there between the two parking lots. We have an unimproved parking lot. And I know of a plan that exists for actually finishing the north end, which is outside the redeveloper agreement area, into an actual fisherman's lot with a restroom, a fish cleaning station, paved parking lots. I've seen the plans for this. I see this as an opportunity. I don't see this as a negative. They need to provide a concession to the city, and the exit strategy should be that they finish the fisherman's lot as it was envisioned to be, with cleaning stations, restrooms, and a paved parking lot. So consider that, please, you know.
And I won't cut you off. At that Thursday meeting, we brought that to their attention. They agree about that pile of debris. That pile of debris was supposed to be removed as per the past easement, but nobody enforced it. That's why we're saying, no. We want it in writing, exactly what you're going to do. We want a bond or something. And there's no more handshakes. There's no more like deals. As far as we did ask them, how about you pave the lot? And again, like the young lady said, they cannot do that, but the contractor might be able to do it.
Exactly.
The Attorney General told them, no, we cannot do that. But we can ask the contractor to do it.
Right. There should be some exit strategy that improves the situation down there, not just restore it to, as I saw on the bulletin board, it said to be restored to pre-2012 conditions.
Right.
Well, that's ridiculous.
But DEP legally cannot pave that lot.
Okay. I'll leave it to you to figure that out, how to make that happen.
Well, she helped us tonight by saying ask the contractor.
Okay, great. The issue of the Lock Harbor Beach Club and the Casson property was already touched on by other people. I was going to mention the same thing. There's a street that's a public right-of-way that goes right down to the beachfront through Lock Harbor. So that's a perfect other alternative. I'd like a piece of Rita's Go-Go Bar. I kind of miss the old Asbury Park the way it used to be. The band shell, very interesting. The original concept for the band shell. Oh,
go ahead.
All right. As you're well aware, the pavilions were privatized. So they are, in effect, private property. There's no mandate for any of the pavilions to have publicly accessible space. The original concept was a trade-off. Sell the Fifth Avenue Pavilion and create a grade-level gazebo-type band shell on one of the Green Acre spaces. That was the original concept. There was a campaign launched by the Historical Society and other members of the community to actually enforce the concept of the plan to preserve the building's band shell on top as an architectural element. So Amy's correct. There's nothing in the legal documents that mandates public access to that structure. What is in the document is an acknowledgement that that building is a significant architectural feature of Asbury Park, and architecturally should be preserved as a symbol of the 1960s unique architecture, with the band shell on top and having events going on up there, not necessarily public events. So if it's quasi-private, quasi-public, I think that that's a good thing. I'm more interested in having the building restored to its original intent. The form and function of it is more important, I would believe. That's about it. Thank you. Any questions?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Pass this to the council. There's a map on the back. Thank you, John Grant, 1205 4th Avenue, on the corner of Pine Street, which I'll talk about. First, when Deputy Mayor Quinn talked about a detour to Asbury Avenue, most of the detour gets ignored anyway. The cars that come off Sunset will go right on 5th Avenue if they know the area, instead of going to 4th Avenue and going right. So I've seen a lot of, the signs are irrelevant if you already know the area and you can speed through however you want. Also in regard to the buses are not consistent which streets they go down. In front of 4th Avenue going east, sometimes they go left on Pine and sometimes they go left on Comstock and vice versa. So I live close to Pine and 4th and I sit at the window during the week and watch this happen. The buses also have to make a very wide turn at Pine going on to 4th, into the other lane, the eastbound lane, because the buses are so wide. So I think that's a concern in terms of safety that, New Jersey Transit should be aware of. And maybe as part of what you're going to ask the county, you could ask them to pave Comstock and pave Pine, and also re-landscape them because the buses just have torn away all of the trees that are planted on them. And my concern about the intersections, and I use Pine and 4th as an example of all the other intersections, but primarily for pedestrian safety, especially I can give you one key time is after the schools let out, the high school and Bradley Elementary School, about 2:35, there's a stream of cars coming from all directions, leaving the schools or going into other parts of the town. And there's also students crossing, trying to get around the cars. On Pine, there's no crosswalk across 4th Avenue. There is one on Comstock. So I think there could be one there. Also on 4th by Pine, used to be a sign that said slow school zone, and that's pretty much worn away. It's been repainted in the past, but it hasn't recently. And so to document what I've seen, I've been taking videos of what's happening at that intersection. And one that I took on February 3rd, when the schools get out, the cars that are going south on 4th and turning right on, may I have permission to keep going? Going right on Pine, they treat the stop sign as a yield sign. They don't stop at all. And that can happen continually. Also, if there's cars that are parking close to the intersection, the visibility is extremely bad. So the cars have to pull halfway into the intersection in order to see the oncoming traffic. And then also the students, then you have cars darting back and forth across Pine, or crossing 4th from one side of Pine to the other. And that makes it, for me, a little different than Sunset Avenue, because on Sunset Avenue, there's only a couple cross streets, where the whole length of 4th Avenue, there's lots of cross streets that make it more complicated with the increase in traffic. And then the video also shows all of the students who are leaving the high school and crossing Pine to go home. And there's no cross guard there. There's nothing, to help them. There's no crosswalk. And the cars are speeding by in all directions. And when the students can pass, there are cars that are still speeding behind them, just missing them. So I think it's important that, students can get to the school safely. So I'll go quickly. I'd like the city to explain why there are not stop signs on 4th Avenue or speed bumps. And I think the city engineer could explain that to us. I've also looked in the parking code, which is section 7-21 of the city code, and that explains 3rd, 4th, and 5th Avenues are through streets. So I would like the city engineer to explain what a through street is, and if that affects what can be done on that street in terms of stop signs or bumps, and the answer is yes, but I would like to hear him explain that. Also would like the city to explain if there's any strategies for traffic calming. And per the Institute of Transportation Engineers, it's a measure that reduces the negative effects of motor vehicle use, altered driver behavior, and improve conditions for pedestrians. I referenced, which is also referenced in the traffic code, there's a manual on uniform traffic control devices.
30 seconds.
At Chapter B, and it talks about pavement markings. One thing that might be helpful, if there's no parking, they recommend 20 feet away from an intersection so that there's visibility. And also there's something called traffic, they're bulges, so that 4th Avenue is wide. Someone could be going through the intersection and there's oncoming traffic and they'd like to go left. While that car is there, a car can speed around it or go right. And so that's the drawing that I put on the street design for you to consider.
All right, thank you, John.
Thank you.
And the engineer hopefully will be here tomorrow night, and the police can make a presentation. And a lot of it, we knew either tonight or tomorrow night this was going to be a hot topic, so we're hoping to have some better answers tomorrow night. And some of the signage will respond tomorrow better, where it's like, it's a catch-22. You can't put up a stop sign unless you have accidents. So we don't want accidents, but we're stopped by state law. And that's what the police are dealing with. They would love to, we cannot create a 4-way stop sign, a stop street, and there's to reduce speed. There has to be an accident study.
All right, so that should just be explained.
Okay, well, tomorrow night, better.
Two things real quick. Fred, can you add to the county ask the pine and Comstock paving, as well as the landscaping? And additionally, could we ask for funding for more crossing guards? Right, so 4th has nothing, 3rd has a light and a crossing guard. Even, I would think 2nd has crossing guards. And right now, 2nd is in much better shape as far as traffic. I mean, it's quiet compared to 4th. So maybe we could look at a contingency of moving our 2nd Ave crossing guards to 4th for the time being. Well, that's more of an issue.
I have no problem adding anything to the list, but if we need more crossing guards, I would say hire them tomorrow. Let's not wait, I mean, for the county.
We should have if we have crossing guards on 2nd, whoever deemed that necessary, 4th needs it more at this point.
But we'll have the police look into it, and
that's 4th and Pine.
4th and Pine, 4th and Comstock. Yeah, both of those.
Okay, but we need more traffic. Yeah, let's not wait for the county to say, no, let's just get the crossing guards out there.
I won't keep you. Louise Murray, 1604 Grand Avenue, Asbury Park. Born and raised in this city, still here. Graduated Asbury Park High School. Our class was over 300 kids, addressing your parking or crossing guards. I can't get it. I can save you a ton of money. Teach these high school kids how to cross the street. Why do you need a crossing guard where there's a light and then you have another one over there, Comstock Street? These are grown kids. We're not talking little children, 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, or whatever, that maybe they get distracted. Over 300 kids in my class graduated Asbury Park High School. We didn't have a problem crossing the streets. We didn't have a problem walking on the sidewalk. And I frankly think that what the high school should do, they should implement some kind of a policy. If you don't know how to cross the street, you're walking in the street, then you get some kind of a ticket, get a demerit. Oh, that's right, excuse me. The teachers do not have detention anymore. They want to get out of there. I mean, when I was in high school, you had detention. That was like awful. I don't get it. We're spending more money on crossing guards, and they still don't know how to, and your crossing guards, excuse me, they need instructions. Seriously, they really need instruction. So just teach your kids how to cross the street. I don't get it. Save you some money. Forget about the signage. Forget about the crossing guards. I'm telling you, give them a little ticket and say you got detention. But then you got to find a teacher to stay after school.
I stayed after school for detention. But I think it's not just the high school kids. There's Bradley Elementary School there, and amazingly,
the little ones I get. Yeah. I understand that, but not that high school. That's ridiculous. You've got the policemen, you've got the crossing guards. Now that's absolutely ridiculous.
Mr. Mayor, if it's all right, I just want to expand on my answer to Mr. Henry earlier about the plan amendment procedure. Jim, yes, it's applicable to every redevelopment area, but you need to be the owner of the property or a developer that has consent of the owner. In the waterfront area, you still need consent of the master redeveloper, ISTAR, for any amendment to the redevelopment plan. So, yes, to answer your question, yes, it's applicable, but there are still other pieces you have to, that go along.
Motion to close public session?
Move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn?
Move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, Jesus.